Hello everyone, today I am here to talk all about Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. This is the 7th and final book in the Throne of Glass series. Who thought it would be done? I never thought the day would come of this series being over, honestly. Alas, we are here, and yeah, I have a lot of feelings, a lot of things to talk about. Before I even begin into this video, I want to apologize first for the lighting. It's raining, so the lighting is just harsh on Harsh City. So yes, it's raining, so I apologize for the lighting. Number 2, if you can't already tell, this book is massively huge. It's almost 1,000 pages, so I took notes, yes, not while reading because I'm not a big note taker, but I took notes afterward, and I know I'm not going to barely even touch a lot of things that happen in this book. So just know there's going to be a lot I don't talk about or I forget. So I apologize for that as well, because if I talked about everything that happened in this book, we would be here for literally hours. So I'm going to try to just go over the key notes of it, like the big parts of it, delve into the characters, the relationships, the ending, and things like that. So and I wouldn't say this is going to be a detailed review, but just kind of an overview, if you will, maybe. Needless to say, if you haven't read the Throne of Glass series, please do not watch any further because I'll be spoiling you big time on a lot of different things. This series, and if you're wondering if you should read this series, I get a lot of questions about like if people should read the series because it is very hyped and things like that. I really adore this series. I will say it's a very kind of high YA fantasy. There's a lot of different characters in the series. There's a lot of things happening. There's wars, there's, you know, different political things. There's fairies, there's like powerful people, there's witches, there's demons. There's like a whole slew of a lot of different things happening in the series. And would I recommend it to somebody that doesn't love fantasy? Probably not, because this is like really full-in fantasy. Would I recommend it to somebody that really likes fantasy? Probably so. I'd say it's also not really YA. I would classify it honestly as new adult, really, because there's a lot of steaminess in a lot of these books. There's a lot of adult language, things like that. So in case you're wondering in regards to if you're too young for it or not, just know like starting at book 2, we get some steamy times, especially in like book 4 and up, heavily steamy times. So yeah, I think it's honestly, if you are very interested in checking it out, try it. If not, that's okay too, because I know everyone is talking about it on BookTube. And it's a series you're either going to be really invested in or a series you're just going to want to glaze over completely. Whatever your preference is, I can't sway you one or the other. You have to decide for yourself. So before I get into the nitty-gritty details, did I love this book? Yes, I did. I want to say it's my favorite of the series. Like, I can't believe I'm saying that because I really love Throne of Glass, I really love Crown of Midnight, and I really loved Heir of Fire. And after that, it got kind of shaky for me. I didn't really love Queen of Shadows, I didn't really love Empire of Storms, I did really love Tower of Dawn, and I really loved Kingdom of Ash. I thought it was a great finale. It was kind of cookie cutter. I'll talk about that later. But overall, it had all the things I wanted and more. It had an epic war, several battles. It had a lot of great relationships. It had a lot of great coming togetherness. It had a lot of political intrigue, you know, things like that. I really enjoyed it overall. I flew through it much more than I was expecting to. Like, I was planning it was going to take me 3 weeks to read this book because it was 1,000 pages, and I should have known. Like, I always say that Sarah J. Maas books take me forever, but they don't, because once I get in, and then I just can't stop. Like, it's like, I've called her book crack before, and I mean it. Like, her stuff is book crack. Like, I can't stop once I start. So it took me like a week, maybe a week and a day to finish this book, which, I mean, for me is fast, especially a 1,000-page book, but I adored it. If you've read the series and you haven't completed it and you're like, should I finish it? Yes, I think you should, because I thought the last book was just the best one. I thought it was just amazing, and I'm happy about the series. I love this series. It's definitely one of my favorite YA series. It is very problematic, don't get me wrong on that regard, but overall, I love it. It's book crack. I mean, what else can I say? I gave it a 5 out of 5. Like, definitely, it's gonna be on the top 5 of my favorite books I've read this year. That is for freaking sure. So you know, I'm gonna talk all things spoilers about this book now, so don't watch any further if you have not read this book. If you have not read the series, I'm gonna talk in detail about everything that happened in this book, just so you know from here on out. First up, let's talk about the conclusion that we had of Tower of Dawn. I also get questions if people should read Tower of Dawn. Yes, I think you should. Not only for the fact of it finally gives my man Kale some freaking redemption, which I've been waiting for forever for, but it's got a lot of detail in it that you're not gonna wanna miss. Mainly for the fact fact that Maeve is not really a Fae queen. She is a vlog queen. I don't know how you say that. And she's actually Erwan's like sister-in-law. Like, I didn't see that coming. Did you see that coming? Sarah J. Maas puts the best plot twists because I can't see them from a mile away. So yeah, that's a big crucial point of information you learn in Tower of Dawn. She does kind of go over that in Kingdom of Ash, but you're not going to have the shock factor in Kingdom of Ash learning it if you didn't read Tower of Dawn. Like, Tower of Dawn, like, your jaw just drops because you're like, what? So we learned that she's really a bad queen, so that really changes a lot of different things. At the beginning of this book, like we know at the last of, it's hard because like Tower of Dawn was the last book, but it was taking place during the events of Empire of Storms. So the last of Empire of Storms, Aelin gets trapped in an iron coffin and she gets taken away to be like tortured by Maeve and Kane. I pronounced so many names wrong, I apologize. And so basically that's where she's at. And it's really hard reading her chapters because she's struggling a lot because they torture her literally, emotionally, like physically. Like, it's just brutal to read about. So that was hard to read about. So that's what's going on with Aelin in like the first, I don't know, 300 pages, 200, maybe more. It's a good chunk of the beginning where she's trapped. That's what's going on with Aelin. We also have Rowan, Elide, Lorcan, and Gavriel going to try to find Aelin and figure out where she is at. So they're doing that. I'm trying to talk about where everyone's at the beginning of the book. Aiden and Lysandra are defending Tesserin, and I think that was my least favorite part of the whole book is Aedion. Like, it was, I don't know. But we also have Manon and Dorian trying to find the third war key. Also, Manon's with her 13, and they're also trying to find the Crocian witches because Manon, oh, surprise, she is the freaking Crocian witch queen. What? Also, we have Kale and Irene and Nesrin and Sartik coming over to, you know, defend and help out Aelin and everything like that. So we have a lot of different characters. We have a lot of different POVs. We go through every single character's POV more than once. We have a lot of different like groups that are all doing different things. So it's kind of hard in the beginning because everyone's just so separated. And I think we were all waiting for everyone to be together at one place at one time. And it happened, and I was freaking happy about that. That's what everyone was doing at the beginning. Of course, things happen where Aelin gets out, Rowan and them help get her escaped, and she's obviously, you know, traumatized of what happened to her. Obviously, Karn is killed. Freaking Connell has to kill himself in front of his twin, Fenris, which, oh my gosh, so that was hard to read about. I didn't really care that he died, but I was really sad for Fenris. Hopefully I said his name right. And so, yeah, that's all. So many things happen in this book, and I know I'm not talking about a lot of them, and I apologize for that. If you're looking for a super detailed review, I apologize that I am not it. Let's talk about some reunions, because I don't know about you, but that was one of my favorite parts of this book, or the reunions. First up, we have the Kale and Aelin reunion, and I thought that was just, I didn't think I was going to be affected as much as I did when that happened, but I was like crying. I was like, oh my gosh, they're back together, like it's happening. And I know they're not together because I've always shipped Kale and Aelin. I'm gonna say it, like I shipped it. I still kind of ship it, even though I'm totally okay with each other's significant others, but I was just happy to see them together and be friends, and just, I love them, and I was so happy. And then we have, I think, the reunion everyone was waiting for, and that was the Kale and Dorian reunion. That one filled my heart up so freaking much. It was ridiculous. I was so insanely happy when they finally reunited because they are like bro OTP. Like, I'm talking about like Samwise and Frodo level, like that bro OTP. Like, they are like BFFs forever, like they're brothers. So I love that reunion. I mean, we have a lot of different reunions. It's just amazing. There's a lot of different wars happening. I feel like the hard part of this book was reading about Aedion and Lysandra. They just kept going into battles and losing and getting hurt, and Aedion was very hard to read about in the beginning of this book, through actually the middle part of it, because he was just so angry that Lysandra was pretending to be Aelin and that she was doing all of this, and he was just angry about everything, and it just made him very unlikable, but you understood his anger. And it just, when Lysandra finally got hurt, he's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be like that. And I was glad that she wasn't like, oh, it's okay. She was like, no, I don't care. It took you for me to get hurt for you to realize that you love me, that you shouldn't have been a jerk. I'm not going to accept that. I'm glad she did that. I mean, of course they you know, got over it in time and are together, happy and la-da-da. But I'm glad she stood her ground. She's a very strong character and I love her. She's a great shapeshifter. She's a very crucial part of this whole book. Everyone is, really. let's see. Let's talk about characters. So, yeah, I guess I'm gonna start with Aedion. Aedion, you know, was hard to read about because he was just so upset and he just kept losing and losing. It was very hard to read about his sections of the book, honestly. Next up, let's talk about Aelin because she's the main character. I have had a love-hate relationship with her for a while. Go ahead and say that she's not my favorite character in the book. She's like in my top 5 probably, but she's not my favorite character. I think she's just too brash for me, too cocky. In this book, though, I loved her. You know, after the events that happened to her in this book, I think it kind of stripped her down to bareness, if you will, and she just kind of had to rebuild herself, and she was very emotionally open, much more than she has ever been, I think. She told Rowan more things, which I've been waiting for because she's always been doing plans by herself and figuring out things by herself and surprising people by herself. And I'm like, you've got like a mate now, like you've got somebody that can confide everything in, so why not do that? And she finally did, and she let other people in finally. I think this whole series she's been kind of closed off, understandably so, yes, but in this book, we get to see her more open and more honest, and I've been waiting for that forever. So she did kind of redeem herself, in my opinion. Like, I loved seeing how at the end, you know, she was kind of almost stripped away from all of her powers, and yet she's still powerful, and she needed other people's help to defeat people, and it wasn't all her. It was like teamwork is the dream work in this book, and I loved that. So Aelin, yes. Is she my favorite? No. Do I love her? Yes. Speaking of not favorites is Rowan. I don't know. I still like I accept Rowan, but I don't love Rowan. I don't know why. It could be because I was such a Kale and Aelin shipper. I was like, I'm going down with this ship. But, I love him. I love her. I don't know why, but I never really accepted Rowan. Like, I think he's a strong character. He's very, he does a lot of things for other people. He's also kind of a jerk sometimes, but overall, like, I like Rowan. I don't love him. He's not one of my favorite characters. I feel like he's just there for like Aelin's, like, I don't know what to say. Dorian. Dorian is definitely one of my favorites. I've loved Dorian since day one. I felt like he has taken such a journey. All of these characters really have. I can't say one's taken more of a journey out of the other ones, but he had a freaking collar on him to be like a black demon prince was trapped inside of him. That was horrible, but he has just grown so much, and he's so powerful now, and he's lost people that he's loved, his dad, his like love of his life. He's just Scotia. He's just lost a lot of different things. He was separated from his best friend, like his brother, for a while. He's got this kind of weird relationship with Manon. I loved reading about Dorian. Dorian is a very strong character, in my opinion. I loved reading about him and his whole journey throughout this book to getting the word key, doing what he has to do, and he wanted to end this thing. He wanted to sacrifice himself with Aelin. He's an amazing character. I don't want to say he's underrated because I think a lot of people love Dorian, and he's just amazing. There's not much else to say about him. Manon is, I want to say she's like my favorite. What's weird about that is that when I first got introduced to Manon, I want to say she got introduced in the 3rd book, right? Airfire, I think. I did not like Manon. I was like, why are these witches up in here? I didn't sign up for this. What is happening? But then the more I read about Manon, the more I was like, I am obsessed with Manon. Like, anything she does, I am here for. She is brash, also like Aelin, but she is a witch. Like, you understand her. She's just evil kind of in a way, and you get to see her just completely change the series. Like, she's still a badass, 100%, but she has a big heart, and she shows love differently, but she reminds me a lot of Helene from the Ember and Ashes series. I don't know if I'm the only one that makes the comparison, probably, but both of them are very strong and don't know how to show their emotions very well because of the situations they are in. So I love Manon. I love the fact that she was like trying to make Dorian stay. She's like, I'll marry you. And I'm like, who is this? And the fact that he did not accept that because he's like, that's not Manon. Like, oh, I do like the Manon-Dorian relationship. It's very odd, but I think it works. But I love them together. I'm hoping they're married. That would be a freaking amazing marriage. But Manon is just her relationship with Axibris. The time that freaking the 13 sacrificed themselves for Manon, for the better world, to have a better world. Oh, I cried at that part. I was like, the 13, those were like her sisters, her blood, and they sacrificed themselves for pretty much her. I don't know what to say. I love Manon. Alid, I love Alid. I love Lorcan. I think they're both great. Alid is a great example of a character that is very strong. A lot of these characters are strong physically. They have either they're witches, or they have powers, or they have healing properties, or they, you know, are a strong warrior. Alid is none of those things. She doesn't know she's a witch, but she doesn't know what she's doing. She doesn't learn her powers and things like that. She is so strong with what she believes in. She's so strong in what she can do herself, and she doesn't let a limp stop her. She is a great character, and I loved her strongness that was brought to the table. Lorcan, I think that's also a very weird relationship, but I'm there for it. I love it. I was so mad at Alid because I'm like, Lorcan has like redeemed himself. Come on, Alid. And then it took him almost dying for her to be like, crap, I love you. And he's like, I love all the relationships. I mean, Annie and Lysandra, I just love everybody. Kale. I mean, I don't have much to say about Kale because you guys know I love Kale. I've loved Kale since day one. A lot of people have hated Kale. I've loved Kale. I've seen him at his worst, and then finally when he got his redemption arc with Tower of Dawn, very happy for it. I thought he was strong in this book. I thought he was amazing. I love Kale. Kale's one of my favorites as well, like all of these. Irene, one of the newest characters of this series, pretty much, and she like pretty much saved the day. Like Irene defeated Erewhon. Like she was the sole kind of reason and then her and Dorian teamed together. But Irene was like almost the hero of the story. Like everyone was also heroes, but Irene like really stole the show. I mean, there's so many other Fenris, Gavin, Adian. Oh, when Gabriel died, oh my god. He's like, closed the gate, son. Couldn't handle it. I mean, so many things happened. Like Irene, like I said. I mean, Alid came up with that plan for Irene and Dorian to kill Erewhon. So Alid just shows her like hero-ness right there. Like she came up with that freaking plan. How amazing is she? And Aelin teaming up with Rowan and Lorcan and Fenris, all to destroy Maeve. Like Aelin didn't do it alone. She did it with people. Like Irene didn't do it alone. She did it with people. I love the teamwork in this book. Like it wasn't one single person that brought this whole war to an end. No. Everyone had to work together. Everyone had to pull their weight. Everyone had to offer something to the table to bring these evils down. And I loved that it was all about that. Like it wasn't just Aelin walking like fire, like I've got this, nobody else has got this, it's just me. No, she needed help and she got help, and I thought that was awesome. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say other than the ending. Yes, it was cookie cutter. The only really losses we had were Gavriel, the 13, and there was another character that died as well, which I was sad about, but not like super sad. But nobody really from our core, I guess Gavriel was from our core, but nobody from our core died. I'm not gonna lie to you, I wasn't expecting them to die, especially after the endings of A Court of Wings and Ruin. She kind of made it a happy ending book. And you know what? I'm okay with it because they all went through freaking hell to get there. So I'm okay with having their happy ending. But I could see why people would be upset because there wasn't any like real deaths. But then I'm like, who would I be okay with dying? And the answer is like, no one. I'd be okay with no one dying. So at the end, oh, okay with the happy endings. Like, she had her coronation ceremony. She had her friends walk up there with her. She made Adian take the blood oath. I mean, it was just all so freaking beautiful at the end, but it was a hellish way to get there. Let me tell you, like, this book was not like, let's all hold hands and go defeat the evil together. No, it was battle after battle lost. Aelin was being tortured at the beginning. Adian was losing battles. Lysandra was almost died. Lorcan almost died. Like, so many almost deaths. Like, it was a lot. But, I mean, I'm happy with it. I loved every second of this book. I will say that it took me around 200 or 300 pages to really be fully into it. After that, I was in, like, fully in, 100%. Like, I had to read it whenever I had the freaking chance. But it took me a little bit to delve back in because this is a world I feel like you have to really just take your time with it and get into it slowly. Other people may disagree, but that's just me. But those are my feelings. I know I left out a lot, like a lot. And I'm sorry because we would be here forever if I said everything I wanted to say. But I would love to know your opinions on this series. Are you happy with the finale? Do you think the last book is the best? I would love to hear. Who's your favorite character? Who's your favorite relationship? I want to hear all of it because there's a lot to talk about. So yeah, let me know down in the comments all of those many things because I want to hear. Let's have a full-blown Throne of Glass discussion. I'm excited. Oh, I also forgot to tell you that there was a whole freaking Ferris and Ryzen like cameo in this. I was not expecting that. Like when she had to go through the gates and then she went through the world and then she said she saw snow-capped mountains and I was like, and like starry skies, I was like, wait. And then she saw a very good-looking female male with a very pregnant fae and I was like, hold up. I was like, that's Farrah and Rysand. And then he like threw out his hand to be like, what's up? And he was really stopping. Oh, I love that so much. I think this also had like a nod to her new series that's coming out too with the different world she was in. I don't know, but I was so happy for that Court of Thorns and Roses reference in there. Like I was beyond excited about that. So yeah, let me know if you also caught that as well. I would love to hear because I had to read that like 50 times over. Oh, Farrah Rysand, that's amazing. So yeah, anyway, let me go on because this is already a long video enough. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. I would love to hear them. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and yeah. Here's to the ending of a great series, and it's safe to say I'll read anything that Sarah J Maas writes. Bad to say, but I'll do it. Bye, guys.